morning! Nice of you guys to drop by. Welcome back to the Resistance broadcast, everybody. I'm John. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's Monday. It is our last Monday show in April, and you know what that means. Next Monday is May the 4th, which we are going to do. We're just going to start teasing things on Twitter. Coming soon. Big news coming soon. Lot coming soon. Stay tuned. Probably not. But it's Star Wars, and it's a good time. And joining me as always, James and Lacey. How you guys doing? We usually don't do too much different stuff on May the 4th, at least as far as I could remember. I could probably go back and look, but it just so happens this one's falling on a podcast day next Monday. But I don't think we have anything major planned other than trying to do a good show. But we don't usually do anything crazy on May the 4th, right?
I don't think our podcast has ever announced or done anything. Although I do like to pay attention to other content creators and Star Wars proper. Just it's kind of like reminds me of April Fool's Day. Like I'm excited to see what other people come up with.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah.
Lacey?
Yeah, I don't really do anything, but I love Star Wars, so it's like every day for me, I guess. Oh, and it's my sister's birthday. Happy birthday, Chelsea.
Hey!
I know she's not listening probably, but I know her husband is. So, Matt, tell Chelsea I wish her happy birthday.
So you're married to a Matt.
Happy birthday.
Chelsea's married to a Matt. And
Kelly is not.
Kelly's not. Okay, well, Kelly...
I'm a middle child.
Mrs. Damon is married to a Matt.
Matt Damon? Got it.
Yeah, my dad makes the joke all the time that, like, if Kelly would just date a Matt, then they'd all be Matt, and he wouldn't have to remember anybody's name.
Very good. That's solid dad humor right there. So before we get into Resistance Report, we saw that news that StarWars.com released about the Dr. Aphra audiobook coming out that's kind of tied in with her appearance in the Darth Vader comic as like a kind of a launching pad to her own adventures. It's going to kind of be like Jedi Lost, the Dooku thing with a full script and full audiobook. Now, James, you take in the books via audiobook. So does this thing, did you like the Dooku one? And does this thing give you the same excitement? Are you excited about this? Are you an Aphra fan? Where are you at with this thing?
Actually, to be honest with you, I really was excited about the prospect of learning more about Dooku. That was one of the first things I ever said on when I joined Resistance Broadcast. I was like, hey man, where's the Dooku book? I want to learn more about this character. And at the end of the day, the radio drama with all the multiple people talking and stuff, that actually to me was more confusing than an audiobook. And I actually kind of ended up being like, I wish that they didn't do it that way. They did end up releasing like a version of it that's like a book that you can read, but they're not going to do an audiobook of that book, so it's kind of like the audio drama or bust.
Right.
The cool thing I think with the Aphra one is that it's going to follow the comic. So I think it's kind of like an audio version retelling of the story, maybe with some bonus stuff. So at the end of the day, I don't think I'm ever going to get like super lost, or I'll have like a reference point. So I'm actually kind of excited about this. And I think it opens the door for more fans. I think maybe they might be dipping their toes in like, do people like this character? We've introduced her here. Maybe we can bring it over to these people, these fans, the book fans, maybe.
Yeah.
Instead of just the comic fans. So I don't know. We'll see.
And
not much to say about it right now.
Right. And, Lacey, I know you edit the Rumor and Theory reviews for me, which I have to get another one going soon. But I know I'd covered the rumor about Aphra having a potential Disney Plus series that was going around. Someone had said that was happening. Do you think this was a sort of a miscommunication, and maybe this is what was really going on? Or do you think there's still going to be some sort of Aphra TV series?
I actually didn't put any of that together. I think you did, but I mean, I guess so. I don't want to take...
Lacey, sometimes just take the bone.
I don't. Well, I don't want to take credit for something I didn't come up with.
John's throwing you the bone.
Pointing at the fourth wall, and Lacey just goes, pow! Right through it.
I don't like taking credit for things that I didn't come up with. And I can tell you right now, anything with Dr. Aphra, I did not come up with it because I don't know anything about this character except that it exists.
All right. Fair enough.
I didn't want to lie.
That is, and you know what? That is fair. Okay.
Okay. But you can go ahead and say that now.
But something you did come up with was the virtual cantina. And we had a happy hour this past Friday on Zoom that you kind of just threw out there one day last week or 2 weeks ago to the internet. And you were like, hey, why don't we do this? And all these people were like, yeah, let's do that. And then you're like, oh, well, we have to do this now. So good job coming up with it. Good job putting it together. And what are your thoughts on the virtual cantina? Why don't you shed some light on how that came to be?
My thoughts are, I had a couple glasses of wine and I was watching Netflix and I was like, you know what? I miss hanging out with people. It might be really fun to have a Star Wars themed virtual happy hour. So I tweeted it out. Like sometimes James says that I tweet out my thoughts. I tweeted it out thinking, hey, this might be a cool thing. And then I wake up the next day and there's like, 800 likes and people are like, yeah, let's do this. And I'm like, oh, so like I have to follow through on this. And then like Greg Grunberg is tweeting that he wants to join. And I was just like, wait, what? So
yeah,
I guess
it's pretty wild.
I guess I have to follow through on it, which, okay, to be fair, that makes me so happy that people want to hang out with me or have anything to do with me. So when people are like, yeah, we'd love to hang out with you virtually and drink alcohol, I was like, hells yeah, let's do this. So there were several days of freaking out, I'm not gonna lie, and these guys know of like, just like, how are we gonna make this work? But I think it went pretty well.
All right.
I think people had fun, and that's all that matters.
And maybe there'll be another thing popping up in the future, right?
And maybe don't tweet things after 2 glasses of wine.
Yeah, we joked off. We joked off air. Like, what if like Lacey just tweets, you know what? Next Saturday, I'm going to the top of the Empire State Building and I'm going to scream Star Wars, and people are like, all right, I'll meet you there. And then they'll actually show up, and then they'll be mad when you're not there. So yeah.
I know.
Yeah. Man, sleepless.
I'm
Seattle.
lonely, guys. Yeah. Come talk to me.
All right. You know what? You know what's not lonely?
What?
The Mandalorian.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say the Resistance Report. I was like, I guess.
That loner.
That loner who's now
that lone wolf
who has a baby, and we're gonna learn a little bit more about that now that we have some more news that James is gonna take us through in the Resistance Report, as Grand Moff Tarkin would say.
It's the Resistance.
Well, John, you were alluding to some Mandalorian news, and we have plenty of it. We got 2 stories, actually, but before we get started on anything relating to future Mandalorian, let's talk a little bit about the Mandalorian that has already happened, but we're going to get a closer look at. And we did talk a little bit about how they announced the series and how we're going to bring back Mando Fan Show for that. We'll talk about that in the Scoundrels Rundown, but they did release a trailer and a poster and a couple other details about the show. So I just wanted to spend some time to talk about like what we have seen so far. Lacey, what did you think of the trailer that we got that was put out by basically Disney Plus, but it was spread all over the place from all the social media, and GMA as well also played the trailer.
Yeah. First, shout out to Clayton Sandell, our buddy Clayton, who kind of gave a heads up to everybody that morning, because usually with these types of things they put out the day before. They're like, oh, stay tuned tomorrow morning. This they like didn't, and I'm assuming it's because they planned to release it anyway, so they were like, whatever, you don't need to make a big deal about it. But heads up to Clayton, because I did watch it on GMA with I believe her name's Ginger, the like weather girl that's like somehow the Star Wars person, and it's not Clayton. It should be Clayton, but Ginger. She's fine. So anyway, the Mandalorian trailer is really exciting because we say this all the time. I know I do. I love behind the scenes stuff. I went to college for video production, film production. So this stuff like really gets me excited, and oftentimes I enjoy it more than the actual movie itself, because you get to see the process of creation to problem solving. I learn a ton about these behind the scenes type reels. And you get to learn from people that are like the best of the best. Like Jon Favreau is like up there as the best. So I'm excited to see a bunch of people work together to make this series happen. And from everything we learned in the trailer, you know, it seems like kind of Star Warsy in the sense that it's like this ragtag group of people. They're all different viewpoints, backgrounds, all different opinions on Star Wars and connections with Star Wars, and yet they're working on one project together, and they're all just pumped to be in the same room. That's always fun to see. I'm excited to see Baby Yoda, Tiny as we call him here on the Resistance broadcast, in action behind the scenes with the rods and then in the cradle. I loved how Deborah Chow talked about how Werner Herzog was like playing with, like directing the puppet, and how he was so adamant of like, guys, we gotta like make this work, the magic, and like make it work, and give more time to the puppet to make it work. I just loved that, because it just shows you that everybody's invested at every single level, from the puppeteers to the stunt guys to the actors to the creatives and directors and whatnot. And then I'm really pumped to hear more about the big volume, right? That's what it's called, the big room.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are moments that you see with the stunt guys, so I'm super pumped, because as you guys know, I said in a previous episode, I really hope they get a little bit of a shout out, and they do. You see them in the trailer, them being the Mandalorian, so I'm excited for that too.
Yeah. Was there any particular part of the trailer that was like your favorite part?
Favorite part? I mean, all the Baby Yoda parts were great, obviously, but I loved seeing Gina Carano just like having a great time. She's the best. She really is the best.
John, what were your thoughts on the trailer?
It's what I kind of expected. You get your heartstring tugging music, the epic type of trailer music that comes standard now with your average movie trailer of big epic storytelling type of stuff.
Dun 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 dun.
Yeah. And then at the end, it's always the emotional beats and the quiet parts as the logo comes up and all that stuff. But so
a piano, like playing single notes.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
That you like recognize.
Yeah. But I liked it a lot. It's funny. Like my favorite part was Filoni talking, actually, in that round table with Favreau and the like, and just kind of like he's the everyone knows he's the tie to George Lucas and this, that, and the other, but how he was talking about it's for kids, and it's to remind kids that there's hope because they need that, and that felt good to hear, because you hear a lot of people trying to get Star Wars to stray away and get more adult and that sort of thing. But I think it's really important that you have someone like a Dave Filoni who's, really cementing the fact that what Star Wars is really all about is teaching kids a lesson, and that there's hope out there, and to do the right thing, and that there's always an opportunity to turn things around and that sort of stuff. So I like that a lot. One thing that really surprised me, there's absolutely zero Pedro Pascal in this, aside from one or two shots of him sitting at the table. You have
there's a shot with him and Gina.
Yeah, but there's no dialogue with him at all. Like, he doesn't speak at all during any of this.
Right.
He's in maybe one or two frames of this, and he is the lead role. Imagine any other making of a movie or anything. Imagine like a making of Iron Man, and Robert Downey Jr. is shown for 2 seconds and doesn't say a thing.
Right.
Which was a Jon Favreau product. That was so bizarre to me, and it's the reminder of the fact that he really mostly did ADR and vocal stuff on season 1. Now, I fully expect that to have changed with season 2. They already filmed it, so we'll probably find out more as leaks and stuff come out, whether he was in the suit more. But that was very interesting to me, and I'm curious what other people think about that. And then the third thing, Rick Famuyiwa and Deborah Chow and Bryce Dallas Howard talking about the experience of making this and how new it is to them. Obviously, to Bryce Dallas Howard, it's interesting. It was her first directing job, and it's also using this brand new technology. So she's going to be going and directing other stuff in the future using older technology than she's done. Like, she's like, I started day one with this newest technology, and now I have to go back and go to actual places and do sets and stuff. But and then
well, her and Daisy Ridley have that in common.
Yeah, yeah. And then you have
I never
Rick
thought about it
Famuyiwa.
like that.
I never thought about that before. And then you have Rick Famuyiwa just saying like he was a big Star Wars fan and talking about the volume a bit and how amazing and exciting it is, and it's really limitless for them, and also very protective. You get this sense when you see that room and that cylinder that there's a lot of protection there, and that it's kind of like whoever needs to be here is going to be here. And I think that's good for futures of avoiding leaks and that sort of thing. And then Deborah Chow, just seeing her in the mix, her hand in the clay, just shaping that story. Here's where the mind probe device should be. And Favreau's right there like, yeah, that's good. I like that they're working together, and seeing that Favreau was involved. He wasn't just on the phone saying, oh, that was good? Okay, good. I'll be in my pool. He was in the mix as well. Filoni's right there. Like, it was clearly a very collaborative, very passionate team effort. And I think that's really what's going to bleed through the most in this documentary, is everyone being full bore, full in, all in, on set, in the mix. And it showed, because it's an absolute quality product, and all these people seem really into it and down to earth.
And Kathleen was in the trailer too, so that means she was on the set as well.
She was not banned from season 1. I guess season 2 was the only set she's banned from, according to silliness out there on the internet. Yeah, but this is going to be so cool. I can't wait to do the Mando fan show and talk about this. And we didn't. They didn't show George Lucas in this, right? So they're saving.
They didn't. Maybe? I think they're saving it.
Yeah. My favorite part was, they announced this with it. They said there's going to be roundtable discussions, and we'd kind of kicked around, what that might look like. But I think seeing it in person actually got me more excited, and that was my favorite part. Is I was like, hold on, you're having Filoni and Favreau, and then you have all the directors all sitting around, and they're just going to have these conversations about the differences in their approach, and what their episodes were like in comparison to your episode. Like, you got this, and I was like, oh man, I wish I had that. But then I got to work on this, and I was like, man, this is the heart of the story. So I'm really excited for the roundtable with them, even way more than the actors that are in the show. I think the actors are cool. And I'm excited for it, but my two main things are going to be the volume, like it was discussed before. That's just I absolutely love the idea of that technology, and actually I even found an article one time from a company that was showcasing this new technology, and I sent it over to John, and I was like, hey man, I think this is the volume, and they're just not saying it, and it turns out that's exactly what it is. The volume is bigger, but it is the same technology. And if anybody knows Corridor Crew on YouTube, they did a video on The Mandalorian, and they talked about how cool the technology is because they got to go to a set and see it in person with this other company and work with it, and it was the same company that I sent you that video of.
Yeah.
So I was kind of aware of what they were talking about, and I was like, this is it, man. This is that technology. This is kind of our first glimpse at it before they actually showed pictures and stuff. So very excited for that. Very excited for the Directors Roundtable. But I think more than this show, more than this 8-series documentary, we're excited for more Mandalorian, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Real quick though, James.
Just sure.
Have you guys watched those Hollywood Reporter roundtables that when they do that, they get...
Yes.
I'm excited for that reason too, because I'll sit and watch those things and see these titans of their industry comparing and being humble with one another and being like, wow, you did that or you did that, and then we're gonna get that for this show. I have to double down on what you said. It's I'm really excited about those.
I think the recent one was Shia LaBeouf and Adam Driver and Tom Hanks all at the same table.
Yeah,
they usually do them before the Oscars.
But so many more.
Jim Carrey was there,
and Jamie was there.
Yeah.
What?
Jim Carrey was on that one, I think. Like, there was a bunch of...
No, I don't think Jim Carrey was on that one.
All right. Well, he was probably that one. Somebody stop me.
Yeah, but no, yeah, that's exactly it, man. I love those as well. Just no Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
But hey, I was getting ready to go into it. More Mandalorian, right?
Yeah.
We already know Mandalorian season 2 is coming, and we don't have a whole lot of information about that. But Variety is reporting that they have a source that is saying they have already begun pre-production on Mandalorian season 3. That is like our first glimpse at hope that maybe they're not going to like shortchange the series and be like, there it is. It's kind of like a mini series. It's done. This might actually give us potential that this could be a three season, 4 season, 5 season. As long as they think the show is successful, they may run with it. John, what do you think about the rumor or the report, if you will, that they are already in pre-production on season 3?
Yeah, it's just so cool because The Mandalorian is the solid footing and solid ground and sense of stability that I feel like Lucasfilm really needed, especially your first live-action TV show for the new Disney streaming service just being a hit. No drama, no delays, no problems, and you got to thank Jon Favreau for that. He's the one common denominator for that. Every other Star Wars project has had issues pretty much. Maybe, I don't think The Last Jedi did, but every other one had some form of another, a little bit of issues and changing this person's coming in, blah, blah, blah. This has been so rock solid, and the fact that they're already in pre-production, he's writing the scripts. They have the art department going with new concepts so that they can maintain their schedule because this is a big show, even though they are using technology that helps cut down the time to produce the show. It's still a high budget show and you need to have these things ready. And the fact that they're already able to do this even during these times where everyone's shut down and in quarantine, they could do it from their own quarters and online and that sort of stuff is really exciting. But again, my biggest takeaway is that Favreau has, with this project, and of course everyone else involved, Filoni and Kathleen Kennedy or whatever, they needed this to be a rock solid thing because it's the first live action show. If this thing fell apart or wasn't received well or had delays, the trickle effect that has on all other future Star Wars live action shows is evident. Look what happened to the standalone films after Solo didn't perform well. So this is such an important show, and the fact that it's on solid ground was so desperately needed for Lucasfilm, a studio that to this day, even with the success of The Rise of Skywalker, is questioned by a lot of people, including myself at this point, in terms of some of their decision making and where's the 2022 movie, what's going on with Rian Johnson, why aren't we hearing things? So I think it was so important for the show to be where it is, and to hear that they're already kicking season 3 into gear and Favreau's hammering out the scripts. It's a relieving and comforting thing to hear.
Yeah, absolutely. Lacey, anything to add to that?
I mean, John said a lot of it, but like I always say, I'm just excited that there's more Star Wars content coming, and this was definitely a surprise to me only because season 2 is not even out yet. I know they had said before season 1 came out that they were doing a season 2, and that got everybody excited, but this just seems like we weren't even sure, like you said, James, if we were going to get more than 2 seasons, or what does this look like? Is it are we going to get 8 seasons of this, or is it more of like a 3 trilogy type, 2 seasons, 3 seasons? I hope they keep making it, but I hope they also don't keep making it to the point that we just get sick of it, which I would never do, but you know what I mean? Like that they kind of run it into the ground. But it is optimistic that they're going on to a season 3 with this show because it is super popular. It is really well received. And just like John said, it's hard as a Star Wars fan to look at the current state of Star Wars in the sense of Kenobi got pushed back, Cassian got pushed back again. This project's not happening. These people left. This person's switching around. you just kind of are like, okay, well, what does that mean for me as a fan? Like, what am I going to be getting from Lucasfilm and from Star Wars? And that's not in a sense of like being greedy or anything. It's in a sense of, I love this content. I love this fandom. Why aren't we getting what other franchises and other fandoms are getting? Like, why aren't we getting the 4-year plan map that other people got? And yet, even when we get that map, it's like kind of breadcrumbs of what other people are getting on the trajectory of like, oh, this is what we're laying out. Especially given that Lucasfilm is part of Disney, and Disney goes into these conferences or just outwardly like announces that they're doing 6 movies for Disney. You know, they're like, oh, we're doing Lion King, and we're doing Mulan, and we're doing Toy Story 4, and we're doing these, and we're doing that. And like, I would love to see that for Star Wars. So the idea that we're getting a season 3 already, it's exciting. It's cool. I really, really love this show. Just like Dave Filoni said in the trailer for the behind the scenes stuff, like, it's about hope, it's about family, it's about being uplifted, and that's why I love this show. And that's what I think Star Wars is about too. So any more Mando they give us, I'll take.
Yeah.
You know, I spent a little bit of that time thinking about the stories that we've had so far. Like, I guess, like, would anybody be opposed if Rebels came back for a 5th season? Would anybody be opposed if Clone Wars decided to do an 8th season? Is anybody opposed that they're doing a 2nd or 3rd Mandalorian season? The only one that I feel like might fall into that category would potentially be Resistance, but I don't know. I think it still falls into a category of like, if you were watching that show and you liked it for what it was, I wouldn't be bummed if they said we're going to do a 3rd season. I'd be like, okay, cool. You know, like, I don't think there is a such thing as a Star Wars property at this point that people would be like, oh my God, just kill it. Just stop. You know?
If they announce
I don't
episode
know if it's
10.
that, but it's, from my perspective, it would be more of a, oh, I wish they were putting the more resources towards something else. I don't think it's a, oh, this doesn't, you know, kill this. I would just think, I kind of wish they were moving forward with something else.
But when I hear about, like, because I don't watch TV that often, when I hear about people talking about TV, it's generally like, yo, Dexter, so good. Not that season, though, you know, or something like that. Like, they should have ended it at blank because that blank season was no good. And there's very few shows that are like all the way through great. And I don't know, in like a weird way, I kind of feel like no matter what, Mandalorian would be one of those shows where wherever they decide to end it, it's going to be like the right, like, people are going to want more, but they ended it, and we'll be glad that they ended it at season 4. Boom. Like, that was the end of that story or something.
Sure. And Mando going on doesn't stop other new Star Wars shows from being made. It just stops. If it stops, it just stops Mando from being made. So whereas if another show popped up and people are like, oh, well, it's more Star Wars, sure. I'm like, well, yeah, but it's not Solo too, so get out of here. No, I'm just kidding. But
and actually, it's funny too. To bring it back to the Resistance thing too, is a lot of people looked at Resistance as getting canceled. But I said in my series review, I was like, you know what though? I don't think that story could have gone anywhere anyway. Like, I think 2 seasons for that story and those characters was exactly all that it needed anyway.
Yeah.
So I think it was planned well, and so far TV seems to be pretty solid as far as the content that we get out of Star Wars.
And
so I don't know. Movies,
dude, it is
a little tricky.
It's amazing when you try to like connect the dots how ahead of time they're doing these animated stuff. Because like before he blocked everybody or whatever, or went like rogue, Pablo had said that Resistance was like done like 3 years ago or something like that. Like,
right.
They were working on season 4 of Rebels before season 2 was like aired.
And that's it. And so the Clone Wars we know was like in the can when they had to, finish it up or when touch it up and add the new episodes. But I'm curious what that means for a next, Rebels. Like that could have been done 2 years ago, and they're like, we were just waiting for the right time. Like,
Not even that. I wonder how many
Yeah.
Star Wars projects got scrapped that we never even knew existed. Like, what projects went to, like,
the Josh
meetings?
Trank Boba Fett movie.
Well, not even that. I'm just saying, like, what other projects no one even heard of that, like, went to meetings or had concept art or went through a whole process that they ultimately were like, eh.
Yeah.
I mean, we just talked about John. What was his name?
J.D. Dillard.
D. Dillard.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's reportedly working on a Star Wars movie, not even TV shows.
Right.
Like, we're talking about movies. And at the same time, like, if that never came to be, we'd all be like, oh, I bet that was a real thing, but it just didn't go through.
Like Matt Smith.
Because they're always working and they're always doing this
It's
stuff,
like Matt Smith. Yeah. I mean, there was the rumor about Taika doing one. There was a rumor about that guy, J.D. Dillard, doing one. Kevin Feige doing one. Ryan Johnson still doing something. Like, there's a lot of reported stuff out there. And maybe that is why Lucasfilm and Disney are being hesitant, because they're like, look, we announced 2 things, and both of them might not happen. One being the Benioff and Wise
Is
thing.
Feige not official?
No, it is. That is official. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
They just didn't
Okay.
announce what he's doing, I guess.
Right. Yeah. Kathleen Kennedy talked about how he wanted to do it, and they're so excited to work with him and that sort of thing. So that one was official. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like the Trank and the J.D. Dillard and the other one that we mentioned, even
Taika.
Oh no. But yeah, Taika. Those were all rumors, and like it's like okay, or they're reported by trade and not like an official announcement. But the Kevin Feige one was like straight from them.
Right.
But anyway, yeah, I think we're all excited. It's good to hear, John. You're exactly right. Mandalorian is kind of the stable ground we need in this, because no matter how much you hate or love the movies, we're all like, yo, Mandalorian though, right? A little bit of a camaraderie there.
Yeah.
Now, we just did a quick like rundown of all like the movie rumors and who's working on projects. But we do have another one coming out there, but it's not from a movie. It's for a new Star Wars series. This one is the showrunner of the show Russian Doll. I don't know if anybody's seen that, but the showrunner is Leslye Headland, and she is reportedly working on a female-led Star Wars series for Disney+. Lacey, what do you think about this news? Do you think it's likely to happen? And if it is it a good story?
So, first of all, anytime they announce new Star Wars, I'm excited. So that's cool. Female-led series, excited for. I saw a lot of kind of comments about it because, we've had Rogue One, which is female-led. We've had the sequel trilogy, which is female-led. So some people are like, why does it have to be female-led? But I think if it's a woman writer and director, it probably makes sense that it's female-centric. That being said, I don't know a ton about Leslye Headland. However, she was at the premiere of The Rise of Skywalker, which is interesting because it makes me want to go back in the pictures and see who else was there and kind of be like, what writers are here at the premiere right now?
Which is weird. I almost don't understand why they give the invite so early, I
don't know. Maybe the process was already started at that point. We don't really know. But
So
No, I know it is.
TLJ,
That's what I'm saying.
Little did we know, Mando.
right. That being said, I haven't seen Russian Doll. I watched the trailer prior to this. I've heard great things about it. But the trailer to me seemed very like edgy, dark, a lot about drugs and sex, and it seemed like a combination of like a really dark Groundhog Day / Edge of Tomorrow with Tom Cruise, where it's like they're replaying the same day, but it's like her at a house party and doing drugs and dying and stuff. So that was interesting.
So how are they going to bring that in, Lacey?
Well, more than that, James. I actually have seen a movie of hers that I didn't realize was hers, which was Bachelorette with Kirsten Dunst. And that movie is even more edgy. It is nonstop swearing, girls doing coke, strippers. Like, it is raunchy comedy, which, look, I love a good comedy. I love it. So it's a great movie. It's hilarious. It's so funny. Kirsten Dunst is amazing in that movie. However, when I see that and I hear Star Wars, I'm like, wait, what? And I saw a lot of people pumped that she's directing because I guess she's come out a lot of times saying, oh, I'm a Star Wars fan. I'm a huge Star Wars fan. And all her interviews are like self-proclaimed Star Wars nerd. But it gets me a little nervous to go from a Dave Filoni who's talking about in the Mando trailer behind the scenes saying how George always said it's about kids and it's about hope and it's about uplifting. And then she's doing shows that are good in their own right and movies that are really, really funny, but they're very adult. Like, you would never show any of these things to a kid. So you can't help but kind of be like, okay, but where is she going to take that from what she knows and does in all of her projects to what Star Wars is? Now, before people flip out at me in the comments and get angry, I understand that when someone's a good writer, they can write anything. But I read a ton of interviews with her, and her interviews were very like, you know, Quentin Tarantino wants to do a Western or a sci-fi. My question to myself is, what am I pissed off about? Like, that was her response in the interview. So I get a little concerned because I'm like, okay, well, why would you ever want to approach something angry in the sense of that's bringing a very certain emotion to your project? And I don't know how I feel about it. I'm going to be honest. I don't know how this is going to translate to Star Wars. I remember like months ago we had the who would you not want to have as a director or a writer of Star Wars? And I say Quentin Tarantino. And it was because he's so violent and that's his thing. And it didn't make sense to me in Star Wars. Like the stuff she's done so far doesn't make sense to me in Star Wars. That doesn't mean she can't do it. I'm only going based on the stuff I've seen, which I love. Bachelorette is so good. Go see it. But I don't know how that's going to translate to a kid's sci-fi, fantasy, fun, uplifting, cute bear movie.
Yeah.
Cute bear movie.
I'm thinking like
John,
Ewoks. Like I'm not going to see Ewoks doing coke in Star Wars.
Then again,
yeah. They passed the pipe around, but yeah. Yeah. So when
like
when
it was even a struggle to talk about this, by the way, on our podcast, because our podcast we try to keep very family friendly and PG. So when you're talking about this woman, you're like, okay, well, these are the things she's done.
Well, you're doing a great job, Lacey.
Yeah.
So I'm trying.
When I heard her name, I didn't recognize it, and I would imagine a lot of people, if they were being honest, they would say the same thing. But I did go and binge watch Russian Doll 2 nights in a row after my son went to bed. It's 8 episodes, about 30 minutes each, so 2 hours each night.
That's not bad.
Yeah. So what I'll say about that is it certainly has like modern day like woke tendencies to it in terms of how the characters interact with each other and that sort of thing, and whatever. But she does a good job at connecting people. I thought she did a good job with the characters, and you felt like they did care about one another. I know that is important to Star Wars, even though it's a different like genre of storytelling, like Lacey said. So one other thing I did, which is a little trick I do to try to like research whether or not someone is working on Star Wars, because this was not officially announced, is I try to look for their old tweets. And so I looked her up and Star Wars, and you find all these old conversations from like 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 5 years ago.
With a bunch of people. Like Paul Scheer had a conversation with her at some point.
Right. And trust me, after the past few weeks, I'm an expert on old tweets. All right. So in these conversations that she's clearly having with people about Star Wars, all of hers are gone, deleted. Every one of hers that were involved in the conversation are gone, and you see the replies to her tweet, which implies what she had said. But she did leave some tweets liked that she maybe forgot to have unliked that were very interesting. One of them referring to Disney as like a cash cow corporate machine, and now she's apparently going to be a part of it. So, and another tweet she liked was about how Marsha Lucas turned George Lucas's trash movie into a super hit. So that's also kind of interesting. I'm sure other people will find those and use them against her. I'm not going to do that, but
they will now, John.
Oh yeah, whatever. But you got to be honest. She did like the tweet, and that's on her. But my point being, it's a little trick I do to try to find out if someone's working on it, because there's a vetting process, and people, especially nowadays, they're like, you may want to check your old tweets and make sure you didn't say anything inflammatory. Have you said anything inflammatory? Because we don't want to have to fire you and have an embarrassing public firing. Recently, there was a guy from SNL who got fired for saying racial stuff on a podcast. And clearly, she went back and deleted all these tweets about Star Wars. Now, it doesn't mean they were all bad. But she's, you know what? I better delete all my tweets about Star Wars so people don't think I think one way or the other and take tweets out of context, because we know people can do that, especially older tweets. Maybe she's just talking to somebody at a bar. Sometimes you just have a casual conversation. So all her tweets are gone. To me, that means she's definitely working on Star Wars. And then you think back to her appearance on The Rise of Skywalker, red carpet. These things don't happen this quickly. She already knew that she was working with them and talking to them. That's why she got invited there. So when she answered the question, Kathleen Kennedy, please, my queen, please sign me up, she had already talked to Kathleen Kennedy. She sat down. They talked about the ideas already. So it's just it's a nice thing for people to say, oh, her dream came true. She asked Kathleen Kennedy and she could work on Star Wars now. That already happened, guys. So don't go look into a camera expecting that to happen to you. But I do agree with Lacey, though. It is interesting that if this is true, which they haven't confirmed, but based on what I was just saying, I think it is true that is happening, that they would give someone who hasn't worked in that type of genre yet of storytelling a brand new series to develop that's not connected to any existing timeline with no characters we know. That's putting a lot of blank faith in something. And now whether it gets greenlit and goes into production, we'll see. But I obviously have to be a little curious as to how that's going to turn out. I can't just blindly say, oh, this is great. It's more Star Wars. Woo, yeah. I mean, I'm curious I need more information, I guess is what I'm saying, James. But that's it.
Yeah. I agree with all your guys' points. It's kind of funny. One thing that I think you were using as a negative point, Lacey, that I actually was kind of like, I didn't know that. And I maybe think that could be a positive thing, is what you were saying about her bringing, like, what am I angry about into the project. That kind of, if I were to say, has anybody in Star Wars ever done that before? George Lucas, I think. And John might attest for some of that. He knows a little bit more about the history of why he was writing the stories he was, because he was angry, if I'm not mistaken, about like the politics and the wars that were going on and things that are happening with our country and overseas and all sorts of things like that. And those were the types of things where he was like, these things are issues in my head, and I need an outlet to showcase to people. They watch this show and they go, wow, that's crazy. I can't believe that could happen. And then for her to do an interview and say, this stuff is happening, or this stuff was my way of explaining how this other stuff is happening and it's real life. It just brings awareness to things that I think a lot of art is like that. So I think using the platform to say, I think it's a good way. I think it's a bad way of saying, what am I passionate about?
I think
and
it's
if
hard.
I'm passionate about it,
I completely agree with you.
I bring it to the,
100%. However, I'm also taking a small part of a big, longer article, and the energy in the whole article was not, hey, I care about people and I'm fighting for people that, need to be heard. It was more like, I hate everyone. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this information.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just, it was a very interesting, every single interview I read, because I think I read like 10 of them. It was like every single one was a very negative attitude. And I'm all for standing up for what's right and believing in what you believe in. But I don't know. I'm a big person about like putting the energy into the world that you want received back and the interviews that were given weren't very, like, fun interviews, I guess. I don't know.
John, was Russian Doll, like, weird?
Yes.
Or was it like, oh my God, this is just like, it's a weight. It's so heavy and
it feels like
dark.
It
and
feels like
sick
an indie movie. It feels like, you know what it feels like? A little bit like the movie Safety Guaranteed that Colin Trevorrow did. I don't know if you guys saw that, but it's indie, but it has like supernatural elements to it. So it's grounded in like a like friendship type of story, like low budget, but it has these elements that don't happen in the real world.
Right.
So without spoiling anything, I mean, it's a pretty quick, smooth watch. I love these Netflix shows that are like, sometimes it ends and you're like, yes, it's not an hour and 10 minutes. Okay.
yeah.
But the last thing I'll say on this, you know, Kathleen Kennedy, and now you have Michelle Redjwan. Obviously, she is in the position of VP of live action development. So she's heavily involved in these hirings now. And this might be her first big one that we know of. They have to trust that whatever she pitched or whatever they went to her for is legit because of Lacey's reason. She hasn't worked in anything close to Star Wars before. She isn't, a veteran in the industry. She isn't a name everyone knows. They probably do feel pressure to bring in women to develop Star Wars shows and movies. I mean, that's not a controversial statement I'm trying to make here, but it's true. They keep hearing it from people. Every time there's another man introduced in making Star Wars, people get pissed off. So there's probably that pressure there. Let's find some talented women and bring them in. So I think that's a part of it too. But if they're bringing her in to make a show for Disney, Kathleen Kennedy and Redjwan had to have really been sold on what she said she can do for them and really believed in what she made. So if you trust Kathleen Kennedy, then you have to have faith that she's interested in what she's developing. And I know Kathleen Kennedy has had some misfires, and we've had some hirings and firings and that sort of thing. But I guess we got to wait and see on this one. And then, like Lacey said, once we start seeing more interviews of her talking about Star Wars and this stuff now, maybe we'll change our mind. But all we have now is to what she's done to this point. So it'll be interesting to see where she decides to take her public presence from here.
Agreed.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Well, lots. Actually, I kind of didn't expect that to be like the kind of the core of our discussion tonight. You know, I thought that would be a light look over, but we really went into a deep dive on what we might actually see from this particular individual. So, but that's good. But that's it then for the Resistance Report. Talked about as much news as we can in our short little show that we do. However, we do have some other things that we want to talk about. Lots of stuff coming up. Lacey, could you give us a little bit of a rundown?
Yeah. Punch it on 3. 1, 2, 3. Punch it!
Punch it!
Punch it!
All right, guys. Scoundrels rundown. So you should become a Resistance officer. If you'd like to access more content or would like to just support us, join us now at patreon.com/resistancebroadcast. You'll immediately gain access to exclusive content, including 8 mini episodes, monthly Q&As, polls, behind-the-scenes videos, and you qualify for all the other benefits that come with being a Resistance officer at each tier. So if you're thinking about joining, now is the time. There's never a better time than now, right?
Right.
We'd love to have you in the base. All right.
Yes.
And that being said, we want to give a special thank you to our generals, Mello, a.k.a. Grey Jedi, Andrew Staley, Jeremie Myers, Neel Shah, who's doing an amazing job as a doctor fighting COVID-19. So thank you, Neel, for everything that you're doing and the sacrifices that you're making.
Yes, thank you.
David Probus, John Risi, Micah Harrison, Tampa movie guy, Michael Gaines, and Val Trichkov. Is it Koff or Koff? Koff. Val. The 14-year-old owner of Star Wars.
The mystery man behind the kids.
I can't believe she brought that back.
Yeah.
So, in other exciting news, we are moving our merchandise to teespring.com.
What?
I know, it's crazy. James has been working so hard on this store, guys.
Yes, he has.
It's going to officially launch this Thursday, April 30th, and will include updates to current designs, new apparel options, and some new designs too. Make sure to go over there. James, you want to give any fun highlights? Any fun teasers?
Not particularly, other than I'm excited about the platform looking like a more cohesive store.
Sure.
I think our other one had like our logo, but this one allows us to kind of showcase the items a little bit better rather than just like, hey, do you see the design? Can you imagine it on a shirt? Kind of deal. And I think it gives us a little bit more customization on the back end. I think like this may not seem like a big deal to you, but trust us that using this platform, it's way better for us as a business, as a creator. And I'm excited to kind of move over to this particular site. So there you go.
I'm excited for all the new designs. You'll have to check it out on Thursday.
I am too.
Okay. You could find that shirt you're wearing right now over there too.
Mm-hmm.
In different items and colors and whatever.
Sweet.
All right. So also tune in to the Clone Wars fan show this Friday exclusively on the Star Wars Newsnet YouTube channel, as James will rate, review, and discuss the next episode of the final season of the Clone Wars. James has been killing it with these. Everyone's tuning in at this point, so you should too. Head over there. And then also a reminder, another fan show is making its return. The Mando fan show is returning to discuss each episode of the Mandalorian docu-series on YouTube, on our YouTube channel and podcast feed. So we're really excited. I know John's pumped to bring back the Mando fan show. So pumped, he announced it before talking to us about it. That's how pumped he is.
That's true. I did it. I do what I want.
I am the captain now.
This is the way.
This is the way. No, we are super, super excited. As you guys know, I say it all the time, behind the scenes, you're like, yes, Lacey, we get it. But it's going to be so fun. And we're probably going to look into getting some guests, maybe, possibly.
Should we rate, this is like live discussion right here. Should we rate these episodes with Jon Favreau faces?
I think we should.
No, they should be Pedro's, but they're the back of his head because it's like behind the scenes.
It's just a guy with brown hair.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway.
No, I think they got to be Favreau faces.
Yeah.
All right, well, that's it, guys. So we're going to head over to John. But Chewie, get us out of here.
Okay, it is time to hear from all of you out there in hashtag Ask the Resistance, where you throw questions our way for us to add a little more fun to the show. So we appreciate that.
I've been wondering, what are midichlorians?
We've been getting a lot of questions, and we try to get as many as we can into the show. So keep them coming. Anytime you think of one, you don't have to wait for our call for questions. You can send it using hashtag Ask the Resistance on Twitter. If you're not on Twitter, I get it. But you can email us at resistancebroadcast@gmail.com. We even have a Facebook page for TRB. You can send us a direct message on there. A lot of ways. So give us a shout. But these folks made it on, and we're going to start with Seth Parnell at Gallinorian Saber. And this one is going to Lacey. Lacey, do you think Kira from Solo is ever going to show up in animation, considering her relationship with Maul?
Hey, Seth. How's it going? Thanks for your question. Kira's actually already showed up in animation. She showed up in Forces of Destiny, I believe, in one episode with Hondo Ohnaka, right? Yeah, she definitely did. And then she also showed up in those other Galaxy of Adventure shows. She showed up with, when they did the Han Solo one, she was in there a little bit.
Yeah, Kessel Run.
But I'm assuming you mean, Clone Wars type animation. I don't think so. I can't think of a show that would have her be part of it, because Maul's journey kind of ends with Rebels, so it's I don't know where she would kind of fit into that. If she was going to fit into it, I guess it would be with Rebels, but we don't know if she lives or dies or whatever. But I'm going to say no, we're not. But we're going to see her. live action again once they make Solo 2. That's my answer.
All right. Yeah, hopefully they do make a follow-up. We'll see. Okay, James, this one is going to you. This is from Scott at Bendito Betis. I don't know if I said that right. Bendito Beats? Bendito Betis? Bendito Betis. I don't know. Let me know, Scott. You didn't get your handle, Scott, okay? Do you think Shaak Ti's death will finally be shown, or, conspiracy theory, do you think that maybe we get a force heal on a wounded Jedi, maybe Shaak Ti, and it allows them to survive, escape, hide Order 66? Is Shaak Ti not dead, James?
Well, I have my Star Wars galactic maps, which doesn't seem like it would be the right place to look. But if you flip over here to the page with all the characters, it says the Togruta Jedi Master Shaak Ti was a member of the High Council during the Clone Wars and was responsible for the training of the Republic's clone army on planet Camelo. Though a skilled and cunning warrior, she was killed by Darth Vader during the Jedi Purge and as she meditated in the temple. So, I know that we know she's dead. And the question is, are they going to bring her back? I gotta just think now. I just think we know of the Jedi that got away. We've seen the list in the comics. There's probably a few other ones, and that's the holdout hope that Shaak Ti could be one of those people. But I just think at the end of the day, they have kind of written into their heads that she was one of the Jedi that fell to Darth Vader. But I think in some way it would be cool to see the scene happen finally, you know, show it.
Yeah.
Because we saw it in the deleted scene, but they threw that away and they wrote a different story. So
Yeah. All right.
There you go. That's
good.
what I think.
Well done, James. Okay, next one. Christopher at Mr. Chris Lee 24 asked us, what Christopher Lee? Isn't that am I crazy? Isn't that Dooku's name? Right? Are you Dooku, Christopher? Let us know in the comments. Thanks. He's the 24th.
He's the 24th.
Yeah. I wonder if Christopher Lee had his handle. That's why Chris couldn't get it. What do you think the chances are that we will see Liam Neeson show up in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series? Christopher, I'm just going to be honest with you, man. I am booking it that Liam Neeson is showing up in the Kenobi series. I think it is the lock of all locks beyond even thought. Look at the movies that Liam Neeson's doing right now. It's like the straight to VHS train robbery part 7.
That was not straight to VHS.
They don't even make VHS anymore. But if they did, no, I think he's definitely going to do it. He's been involved. He did the voice in The Rise of Skywalker. He did an appearance in the Clone Wars. I think he enjoyed his time playing Qui-Gon Jinn. I don't think he's one of those deflective actors who thumbs his nose at having been in Star Wars. And it would make sense. They set it up at the end of Revenge of the Sith that you're going to be talking to Qui-Gon Jinn and learn how to become one with the Force. It makes so much sense. So it would be fan service without a doubt, like to the nth degree, because we haven't seen this guy in 20 years on film as Qui-Gon Jinn. But it's going to be such a great moment to see it. I think it's going to be quick, but he's going to appear to Obi-Wan as a Force ghost, kind of like that they've seen each other before, but it's like here they are now and checking in on him, sort of thing. So I think there's an absolute guarantee. I would be shocked beyond all belief if Liam Neeson is not in the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. So I'm calling a book it on that. Real quick, do you guys think so too? You think he's coming into the show? Yeah. All right. Right on. So let me know what you think in the comments there, Christopher. And we have one more, guys. A little fun one to go around the room here. Lauren Romo at Low Row Knows. She does the Galactic podcast. Hey gang. Hope you are all staying safe and healthy. You too, Lauren. Hope you're doing well. So you three are the crew of a ship. What's the name of your ship? What type of business do you use the ship for? James?
Oh, I didn't think this was all of us. I thought this was we're all going to decide
together.
Right
I think it should be like a food truck.
That's not a ship.
And yes, it's a ship.
Food ship?
Yeah,
What do you
food
want?
Ship. Yeah. No. It's a food ship.
I don't know where he's coming from, though.
You don't have to pay taxes. The Empire doesn't bother you. You go wherever you want. You get as many hot dogs as you want. And it.
We're a hot dog ship in Star Wars.
Well, what do you think? This is why we should have done our own ships. I would call it Jimmy Dong's Chili Dog. That'd be the name of my ship.
Get out of here.
Hey, I still got that donkey drip recipe on my computer. I need to make that.
What do you want our
Lauren,
business
I'm
to be?
so sorry.
What do you want our
I
business
don't know.
to be?
Not spice running, because James would never do that. Like, that's the first thing you think of.
James is a thief. If he would do it.
He would never be a spice runner. I could see us being like a crew that like helps people, that like helps slaves escape.
Is that a business?
It could be.
Well, it's a living. Like the Flintstones bird who has to be the garbage disposal.
Yeah.
It's a living.
I mean, we could be kind of like a Beckett crew, but I just feel like we just fail at every job because we would just never. It would be like we'd get there and we'd be like, this is the plan. And then John and I would argue and then the plan would fall apart.
I feel like, James, what do you think?
My first thought was, and forgive me, I actually forgot to look up the details of this, but everyone will know what I'm talking about. In Rebels, there is a crew that hangs out on like a Dash Rendar style ship. And I forget what they're called. I think it's like Iron Brigade or something along those lines. But there's 3 of them, and the 3 of them are meant to replicate the real life people who were involved with filming the Star Wars show stuff. And it just reminded me that, like, oh, these 3 people are the 3 people in real life. So I was immediately drawn to those 3 characters. And those 3 characters, I think Iron Squadron, was that what they were called? But they fly around and they try to do good, but they make the wrong decisions and get into trouble. And then they had to be saved because I don't know. It's just an interesting episode. And when this question came up, I was like, honestly, we'd probably be the Iron Squad.
Our ship would...
Like 3 kids, has no reason to be doing what they're doing. Somehow they're trying to do good, but they're just causing a lot of problems and probably going to get killed.
Our ship would definitely be called the Incredible.
The Incredible.
The Incredible.
So food truck?
I like it. Or the
food truck seems more
TRB3.
logical. I guess we just went on a rant for nothing.
The TRB3 would be our droid.
Yeah.
Who's gonna draw that droid?
And then,
Someone's
we should make it when we go to Galaxy's Edge.
I'll draw it right now.
We
make
should make TRB3.
Little TRB3 with the orange.
Oh.
Yeah. So food truck would be kind of cool. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. All right. Lauren, let us know what you would do because our ideas were crazy
Terrible.
and wacky. Yeah. But thank you for that, and thanks for wishing us well. I hope you're well. And thank you for everyone who had sent in questions. Again, keep them coming. We'll try to get you on the show, and maybe one day we'll do another one of those all Ask the Resistance shows. We haven't done that in a while. Those are fun.
We haven't.
Yeah. But that's it for Ask the Resistance. So thank you guys. And remember to follow us on Twitter at RBATSWNN. And keep coming. And if you just want to tweet at us, it's a good time. We have fun. All right. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, being a part of the Resistance. If you haven't yet, subscribe to us. Or if you're new, a lot of new people have been tuning in. So hi, and thank you so much for being with us. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Make sure you like and comment in the videos. Every 12 o'clock every day, we post a new episode. We head to the comments, 12 o'clock East, U.S. East. So join us there, and we interact and have a little back and forth on your comments. So make sure you load up the comments on this episode at noon East U.S. time. But subscribe there, or if you're audio, obviously we have Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, Spotify, Podbean, all the audio platforms pretty much you can find us on. So whichever you prefer, subscribe so you know when our 2 episodes a week hit you. And then, of course, the Mando Fan Show, which will be coming. So you have to make sure you do subscribe. Make sure you go to StarWarsNewsNet.com every day for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. As Lacey said before, Patreon.com/Resistance Broadcast if you'd like to support us and also get a lot of other content. It's a good time to do that, especially now that we're all home and that sort of thing. So that is pretty much that. Obviously, as we said before, the new shirts store, Teespring. Check it out on Thursday. Big ups to James for doing all the hard work on that. Dude, you do a lot of stuff behind the scenes, so I just want to say thanks for all you do. It's that store looks amazing, and I can't wait for everybody to see it. So good job, dude. You guys can find me on Twitter at JohnnyHoey and at StarWarsNewsNet.com. James?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Myra Trunks and hanging out with our new droid TRB3.
Yay!
He drew the droid. Oh, my gosh. All right. Lacey?
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gilleran.
All right, that is it. Thursday, we're doing a Kessel Run, guys. We're going to talk about evilness in Star Wars. So think about the most evil things that ever happened in Star Wars and join us with your list. And we'll have fun once again. So see you in a few days
basically
right here on the Resistance Broadcast. See you around.
Bye.